you really need to understand, number one, where you're at in your business. How much budget do you have to play with, right? If you have zero money, dude, don't even freaking think about inbound. And this is kind of what you're talking about. Like, how much money do you really need, right?
Yo, brother, what's going on?
What's good, Tim? How's it going, brother?
I'm good, dude. I appreciate you coming on, man. We got a master marketer on the channel today, so I'm pretty excited for y'all to listen, especially if you guys are in the wholesale space. William, Will, tell the audience about yourself, bro.
Well, my name is Will Yu. By the way, thank you, Tim, for inviting me on. I know that this is probably one of I think the second podcast I've ever been on, so definitely a little bit nervous here, but definitely want to just rock like a normal conversation and try to provide as
Yeah,
much value as possible. But a little background about me. My name is William Yu. I am a real estate investor based out of the Tampa Bay area, uh, a member of the Sub 2 community as also the Owners Club community, and that's how Tim and I met. But my main business, I run a marketing agency specifically focusing on direct response traffic for wholesale lead generation, which is motivated seller leads. Um, some of the things that we do also focus on is branding through paid advertisement, building awareness for your business, building that, the like trust prior to a clientele, maybe a seller or somebody that you're looking to, if you have a lending business, you're trying to build out your lending list, your PML list or PMP list. You can brand yourself on social media without waiting for, Zuckerberg to bless your content with views, hopefully one day, right? So we get to manipulate data and really get your content from the right people.
dude, I love that, man. In terms of marketing, how did you get into the real estate space specifically? Like, why'd you pick that niche?
So this kind of all went back to like the COVID time where when I first moved down to Florida. So I bought a couple properties. I had a manufacturing business out in New York, embroidery and screen printing. This is like my first business after graduating college. I was at a sales gig. A buddy of mine was like, "Hey, well, let's start a embroidery and screen printing business." I'm like, "What the F are you talking about? What the hell is that?" He was like, "Well, we're gonna make embroidery for people." All right, sure, whatever. You're gonna fund everything. I'm just gonna help you. Let's do it. Ended up doing pretty well. And then during COVID time, we ended up just losing everything. Everything in New York shut down from New York originally. But during that period, I was able to purchase a couple properties down in the Tampa Bay area. And we had a friend during that time that basically said, "Hey, I knew a couple of realtors. You want to get into investment? Why don't you just come down and invest?" So I ended up investing some money down here. And during the whole COVID and after COVID time, I ended up gambling a lot of money that I made on stocks. I thought I was the young Warren Buffett.
Yeah,
I ended up
man,
losing
we're
like
all like that.
400 grand. Yeah, in like the span of like 4 or 5.
Holy cow,
That
bro.
was yeah, and then we were still partying at the time, drinking every weekend, and then ended up just realizing that was not sustainable. I'm literally gonna go broke if I stayed in New York. So I moved down to Florida. Obviously, I had properties down here, and then ended up just trying to figure out what to do. So we ended up just merging the embroidery business with a company down here local, and ended up just not doing the best business. So I got into a lot of business, but I never really understood business on a high level. So it was just a young kid that was just throwing money everywhere. Um, all the money I did earn myself, but I ended up losing everything myself too. So the company, I didn't really understand their books. I didn't underwrite their business whatsoever. We just merged the company because it was a good friend of ours that did the same thing down here. Ended up losing that business completely, and just kind of took a step back and really tried to figure out what was going on. So I used the last bit of money that I had to get into a gym. So me and a buddy of mine, we ended up investing into a kickboxing gym out in the Tampa Bay area. And we actually paid Hermonzi's gym launch 45,000 or 35,000 to use their licensing model to basically scale the gym.
Man,
And during that time, I learned that the gym space is probably not where I want to grow in because it's really about the industry and kind of like the boat that you're on. And when the tide comes, it really depends on what type of ship that you're on that kind of raises everything, right? So we ended up learning a lot about marketing and sales and just direct response traffic and really building out a good sales process. And learning how to get cold eyeballs to want your product and service. But because I was investing in real estate prior and I ran out of money just traditionally doing it, so back to the real estate side, we were, my first purchase was a burr. I didn't really understand what that was. I used a DSCR loan because I had a business owned like since I was relatively young. So I couldn't get approved for a traditional loan because my business, I was writing things off. So I didn't really understand what that was. So I had to use the DSCR refi. The first one went well, but the second one, I completely tied up all my capital. And I'm like, okay, well, there goes my real estate investment career. Let's figure out how to make more money. And then once I discovered the marketing space, I started working with a lot of like local brick and mortar gyms throughout the country to help them scale their gym because I was always been a good salesperson and I learned how to do the marketing. So now I can market one to many, sell to one to many. And on my flight back down from New York over the holidays, I met this guy on a flight and he told me, oh, you're doing marketing. And then we kind of clicked the fact that I like Hormozy. I use Gym Launch and he was a huge fan. And he had this, you know, $300,000-$400,000 a month gross wholesale business. It's the first time I ever heard about wholesale in my life. I had no idea what
Wow.
it was. I thought it was like when he brought up wholesale, I'm like Costco wholesale. Like what are you wholesaling? You're wholesaling homes. How does that work? And he was explaining to me, I was like, wow, that's exactly what I'm doing for these gyms. But your margins, you're talking about 10, 20, 30,000 spreads when we're talking about $600 gym memberships.
Oh yeah, way different.
Dude, I need to get back into the space. Like I moved down to Florida because of real estate. I need to get back into it. And that's why I joined Owners Club a few months later after trying to figure out things myself. I started doing wholesaling a little bit myself, generating motivated seller leads, trying to figure out how to navigate the things. I had a couple guys that really helped me out to really learn what this whole space is about, but I never had any formal instruction until I got into the Owners Club community. So I joined Owners Club and then Sub 2. That's when my business on the wholesale side took off a little bit. We ended up closing contracts, we ended up closing up deals, and honestly, it was a rough journey. But then now at this point, we're just really just diving in on the marketing side. That's where I have the most leverage. I felt like kind of like imposter syndrome when I joined Owners Club, really, because of the fact that I was this kind of like failed real estate investor kid that didn't really know much, that felt like he needed to wholesale to be a part of the community. And I feel like throughout the past few months, I realized, dude, I just need to hone in on what I'm really good at and kind of provide value in a space where people don't really understand as much, right? I understand how to navigate through these social platforms, how to drive traffic to the right eyeballs. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. Like my goal is to help guys in the community to really blow up their brand through not only organic, but how to position organic and paid traffic and utilize it to like, build that trust that inherently that's what organic branding is, right?
Yeah, that's a really good point, right? A lot of people think to be in the real estate space, you need to be in real estate, and that's not the fact at all, right? There are people that are in real estate investing by lending money or being a transaction coordinator, right? And if you're a wholesaler or trying to be in that space, you're not in the real estate business, right? And I think that's the biggest problem is everyone who's wholesaling thinks they're in real estate, but in reality, they are in a marketing and sales business, maximizing marketing, getting your leads, because without leads, our business is dead. And then you have to have the ability to close these sellers through sales. So really, you're not in real estate. You're spending money on marketing. You're bringing the opportunities in. You got to close them. So I love that you figured out marketing is your channel to be in the real estate space and helping real estate investors like myself, because we actually work together as well. And the thing is, I think since we're on the topic of marketing, kind of tell everybody, I want to make this like more of like a marketing masterclass for real estate investors, right?
Okay.
What is the difference between inbound and outbound marketing for real estate?
So that's a great question, Tim. So outbound marketing is you going to a person, asking them if they want your product. Inbound is them coming to you in the simplest form. And I always use this analogy because we're men, right? It's like, well, what do you think you have a higher success with at the bar? Going up to a girl or a girl coming up to you? And typically the guy's like, oh, that makes sense. Lady coming up to me is much easier conversation. I'm like, that's the same thing with any type of marketing. If you have a good branding, people like you, know you, trust you, they come to your business and they're asking for your product and service. The cash conversion cycle, where the sales cycle is much shorter compared to you going cold calling or doing direct outreach and asking them, hey, are you potentially interested in this, right? And that also goes into now cold can get really tricky because how niche your list and the leads that you're tackling can really directly correlate to your success as well, right? If I'm going to, vegan restaurants selling meat products, it's probably not going to work. They're probably not the correct
No,
audience, right? So you really need to also understand on cold traffic and any type of marketing, you need to be very, very specific with your audience.
100%, right? Like, people who have all the websites, right? Like on Carrot. So if you guys don't know Carrot, it's a company that helps you build websites or landing pages that are Google SEO optimized, right? You pay them for a service. There's templates, and a lot of wholesalers because I looked on these pages, right, when I was building my website, and it's all the same thing. Everyone has the same freaking words. We buy your house cash, right? No distress, no problem, right? All this stuff. When we built out our website, we actually changed the way we worded things. We made it more about the seller instead of us, right? Because if you look at these pages, we buy houses fast, we do all this stuff, but no one talks about the seller. So our website is all very focused on, are you going through a financial problem or whatever stress? We will listen to your problem and we will create an offer that works for you. It's very targeted to the person, and you fill it in with all the Google SEO stuff like quick sale, fast buy, whatever you need to put in there. And when they read these websites, they're more inclined to click on it because they're like, oh, they're talking to me. I'm the target audience, right?
Dude, Tim, you are a marketer yourself, man. This is the one of the things that I tell people most of the time when they're hiring an agency is that you're hiring us to make sure your offer appeals to the right demographic, and we're copywriters, right? So one of the things that a lot of people don't understand is what you said about the me versus you, right? What are the benefits to you? If I'm talking to a prospect in sales or anything, I'm not gonna talk about how I'm gonna make a lot of money from buying your house. You would never say that. But what is the benefit? What's the end goal of your desired clientele? Is it to sell their home fast, or is it to keep their home, right? So how you frame your copywriting and how you frame the words on your website directly correlates to the sales language and the audience that you're looking to attract as well. And a lot of people don't understand that. And that's kind of one of the biggest reasons why they're failing at their marketing, because they're simply saying the wrong things.
Yeah. So that's a big thing, right? Like a lot of people want to do it themselves. And yeah, everything costs money. And ultimately, it's like if you don't have the money to spend on copywriting or having someone build out an optimized website, you probably shouldn't do it yet. And I think this goes into what we talked about before we hopped on the show, where inbound marketing costs money. And people don't understand the risk of inbound marketing because, all the gurus out there talk about, hey, outbound lead generation is dead and you need to switch to inbound marketing. But everyone is not ready to handle that. So, what's your opinion on new wholesale businesses or intermediate level businesses that are converting into the inbound marketing space?
So then every marketing channel works, but it depends on where you are at in the stage of your business. So, for example, I know I'm going to answer your question soon, but I just want to kind of dive deep, and people really need to understand this. Don't get
Sure, go
so
for it.
into the fancy new kid on the block. Last year was TikTok. This year is YouTube, right? YouTube advertisement. Everything works. It truly works. The two main channels that inbound that I say, it's like you have to understand your funnel, right? Where are you marketing? So typically it's an upside down V. cold calling lands at the top, more of the awareness stage, right? You want to get them interested. On the bottom is more of like the PPC direct response, like, hey, I need to sell my home now. Cash buyers near me. So obviously, which one is higher in conversion? Obviously, the person on the bottom going to you versus somebody that sort of needs to sell their house, but they don't really need to sell their house, right? So as you go up the funnel, it gets cheaper, and the lower it gets more expensive. But people are always saying, hey, PPC is the best because it's the highest motivation of leads. Yeah, you're right. But typically 3 to 5% of the marketplace at a given time is ready to raise their hand and sell their home on that first call. So if your business is not set up to convert traffic at that level, if you don't have 24 hours, 24/7 staff, you don't have automations, AI, CRMs, this, that, plus a team of really highly proficient salespeople, you're going to end up burning money for this super highly motivated lead because you can't contact them within the first few seconds of them opting in. So they drop higher on the pyramid. They become less interested, and that falls into like the Facebook stage of the category or the YouTube of the disturbance channels, right? You really need to understand, number one, where you're at in your business. How much budget do you have to play with, right? If you have zero money, dude, don't even freaking think about inbound. And this is kind of what you're talking about. Like, how much money do you really need, right? I personally don't work with any clients that have a minimum of $15,000 to $20,000 saved up in the bank account, ready for at least a minimum of 3 to 4 months of the runway. And the reason for that is that I'm pretty sure you understand this too, Tim. Let's just say even if you lock up your first contract within the first 48 hours, we actually had a client that's crushing it, launched their ad 48 hours in Chicago, ended up locking up the deal on their second contract. I mean, it's like second lead. So we have 3 leads for them. One was fake. This other 2, they ended up locking a foreclosure deal. But these guys are not going to see their money back for the next 15 to 30 days minimum because there's a cash conversion cycle, right?
Oh
It takes
yeah.
time for you to find a buyer, your TC, all of these things, the process. You have to go get photos, inspection reports, whatever you got to do. And then you have to find a buyer. And that process can take 15 all the way up to 30, 45, and probate situations might even be way longer, right? But people don't understand you're spending money. The money that you spent don't stop because before on this conversation, before the call was recorded, you were talking about you have to oil them, you have to fuel the machine. You can't just stop it out of nowhere. So you're bleeding money until you make that first sale or that actually for the contract to actually close, right? So you
Yeah,
might be
dude.
in like 12, 15 grand and you're like,
Yeah,
damn, I have like 10 contracts, but nothing is closing yet.
exactly. And cash conversion cycle, for everybody that doesn't understand that is it's the cycle where when you put money in, the amount of time it takes for you to see the money come back and receive profit. So like every single marketing channel that you do, there's a set amount of cash conversion cycle for each marketing source. So if you're using direct mail, the first letter that you send out will take about 4 to 6 months for you to get results back. So if you understand that if you're using direct mail, 4 to 6 months, your cash conversion cycle, you need to have enough marketing spend. If you want to do direct mail, you should have the amount of money left in your piggy bank to spend on at least 6 months of your money on that channel before you see a profit. You can see it before, but you need to plan accordingly. And I've seen so many businesses go upside down because they are burning overhead on marketing and they don't realize like, okay, I'm not going to get a phone call from a seller with direct mail for like at least 2, 3 months. And they don't realize that.
Dude, one of the things that I just joke around a little bit and I tell people is like, dude, I'm not here to take away your last bit of Chipotle money, right? I need you to focus on your business, focus on cold traffic until you earn your stripes to be able to afford inbound. Inbound is not going to save your business. If anything, if you don't have a good sales process, just because you move into the inbound doesn't mean that you're going to be successful whatsoever. If anything, you're just going to burn money faster and you're just going to get upside down. You're going to this is the easiest way to get killed out of the business, fortunately.
Yeah, man, it's a slippery slope, man. It's I think, everyone has different metrics for how much to budget for marketing, but basically for us, we have a 20-ish, 22% to 30% market spend of our operational budget. So an example of this is, okay, so let's use easy numbers. Let's say you're a beginner and you have $10,000. 30% of that is $3,000. So, and what Will said, hey, you want to have at least 3 months. So really, I'm only allowed to spend $1,000 a month on marketing until I get a bigger paycheck, right? So if I were to have, if you were to have $1,000 a month, bro, what would you do? What would you recommend people do out there?
I would save your money. Dude, number one, you can't even hire a good agency to run your traffic for you at $1,000 a month. You're just not gonna find anyone. And if you're gambling with the guy that's trying to get a free shot at working with you in the industry, well, that's another easy way to just burn money. Find a reputable business, build up your capital, and invest in your business, right? But with $1,000 in the bank, like that as your marketing budget, I think you're better at this answering this than me. They should probably stick with cold, right, Tim?
Oh
How do you
man,
feel?
yeah. If you have $1,000, guys, like if you okay, so like what's the most sexiest inbound right now? It's probably PPL, right?
PPL, I honestly depends, right? PPL or like YouTube, I would say is the sexiest like guys in the game right now.
It is because
Yeah.
everybody's talking about PPL, and if you guys don't know what PPL is, pay per lead, and there's companies
Uh-huh.
out there, it's not a sponsored ad or anything, but it's like need to sell your home fast, Lead Zolo, Property Leads.
Uh-huh.
These are all websites that you can pay money to these companies. Basically, what Will does, Will generates these leads, right? Through ads, all this stuff, and basically, these companies that you pay are doing the same thing that he's doing. So basically, they're running their ads and then they sell you leads for X amount of money. And most of these companies are bidding systems. So there is a set price for every county. And if more investors are competing in that market, that price per lead goes up. So in my market in Louisville, Kentucky, a pay per lead in my Jefferson County is $520. So with $1,000, you're buying 1.4 leads, right? And then now we're gonna deep dive even further for you guys. What's the national average for a PPL lead? How many PPL leads do you need to convert to a contract? The national average is 16 PPL leads converts to a contract. So if you do the math, 500 times 16 equals to a contract in Louisville, Kentucky, on average for a PPL. So that's why you can't spend money if you only have $1,000.
Dude, and people don't understand that whatsoever, right? And it's like earning a and the worst thing is that the best closers that I've worked with close them like the once you have more and more data, like even though I had a guy out of two leads he closed, that's an anomaly. Like most of the guys, once they have enough data set, it's typically 1 out of 8 to 1 out of 12. And these are the best closers I work with. These are guys
Yeah,
that have
peak.
their system, yeah, dialed in. Because with more data, everything kind of like correlates, like, falls in the middle. I have guys that have 40, 50 leads that haven't closed their first contract, but they're using the same exact funnels. They're using the same exact, some of the same ads, targeting the same areas, and they're just not even locking things up. And that kind of goes back to, dude, you need to earn your stripes. You need to really fall face forward, call as many people as possible, understand how you position yourself in front of the sellers when you're doing, DTS, direct to seller, to get to the position where you're converting traffic at a very high rate. You understand how to frame yourself in a sales conversation. You understand, you know, um, the objections people have, and you build up this like kind of like directory of witty responses of if this seller said I need to think about it, I know exactly what to say to them. I have 5 different taglines that I'm just gonna rotate depending on the situation.
Yeah, dude.
Right.
When someone says, "Oh, I gotta think about it," hey, when I talk to a lot of sellers, man, and it sounds like when I get this answer, it's just a nice way of just saying no, and that's absolutely okay.
Dude,
Right.
you're a killer, man. But that's the thing. A lot of people would just be like, oh, yeah. no problem. What's the best time to call you back? Well,
Done. They're
that's
ghosting you.
done.
They're
They're
out of here.
ghosting you. Or as simple as, hey, understanding the type of channels that you're working with, right? Direct to seller or direct to agent. I have a client, super nice guy. I want the best success for him. But one of the biggest things when I realized once he hit a certain KPI on the leads side of things, and I realized it's broken, I'm like, okay, you're way above industry average. You're way above my clientele average. I need to listen to your calls. And honestly, that's another reason why you're choosing an agency versus just a PPL company. You want somebody that's auditing your accounts and understand your KPIs better than you do. So I was like, hey, dude, can you run me down your process real quick on when a lead comes in to you providing an offer and them signing? What does that look like for you? Well, he was like, yeah, I get motivation, this, that, that. And then I send out LOI. I was like, you're sending out LOI to a direct to sell.
Yeah. Yeah. Just send
This
an offer,
guy
bro.
this guy is coming through from a direct to agent side of things, so it's not his fault whatsoever. But with a direct to seller lead, because they're opting to forms, they're getting retargeted by other companies. The second you submit a LOI, which is a letter of intent, typically just a word that is used for agents, right? Typically with direct seller, most people just say, "Oh, I submitted an offer." But with LOIs, I know it's an agent term, the DTA term. He I basically said, well, you know what they're gonna do once they get your email, right? They're gonna show it to the next wholesaler, and then that guy who's a closer is gonna lock up your contract
Yep. For $1,000 more.
for $1,000 more.
Yo, guys,
Exactly.
if you are talking to a seller, okay, you're direct to seller, you will make the offer on the phone. Okay. Like you talk to them and you say, I gotta underwrite this bad boy, give it to my partner. I'm gonna call you back tomorrow at this time. And you going to make the formal offer on the phone. And if they say that they're not ready, hey, sounds like you're just not ready to sell, and that's absolutely okay. And then they're going to say all this stuff, and you're going to say, well, it's company policy that when we give you a verbal offer, it's only good for 24 hours. I cannot guarantee you this purchase price 1 month, 2 months down the road because the market changes. Does that make sense to you, Mr. Seller? And they're like, oh my gosh, that makes sense. So we want to make sure that you're actually ready to receive this offer and that you're ready to move forward.
Dude,
Keep it
this
straight.
this, this is becoming more of sales masterclass, but just that's providing urgency
Yep.
and framing yourself, right? These are things that until you speak to enough sellers and get your process dialed in, you're not going to know that you're supposed to say that to build urgency to get them to want to sign with you here and then. Why do some guys block up a contract on the first call versus some guys they have to do 20 different follow ups? It's simply just being able to frame yourself and provide urgency,
Yeah. Do you
right?
want, you're telling me that you want to sell the house. So, like, what's holding you back from selling the house? Like that one question alone can sell you the deal right there, right? You're literally making them realize why they want to sell. And I don't want to go down the rabbit hole of sales. Like I would love to have
I
you
love
touch.
sales, dude.
Me too, man. That me, that's my bread and butter. And that's why I have guys like you, on my team that I work with all the time. That helps me on the marketing because guys, like it's not like I learned this stuff, overnight, right? I lost a lot of money, and Will knows. Like we spent like $3,000-4,000 on PPC campaigns, and
Just the test,
we
man. We
flopped. Yeah,
failed.
you gotta. Here's the thing: when you're growing a business, you're gonna test stuff. You're gonna lose money, and then and we talk about marketing in terms of tracking your data, right? KPIs. Uh, I need to know the acronym. I just know the letters KPI. Do you happen to know what the acronym
Key
is?
key performance indicator.
Ah, thank you. Right, that's business school 101. But basically, like you need to track those KPIs because you want to know how many leads per marketing channel converts to a contract, like the national average. Because if you're doing that marketing channel, so let's use PPL again. So 16 out of one, right? So 16 leads equals one contract. If you're doing 25, 26, 27 PPL, because you're tracking that funnel in the marketing channel, you now know there's a gap in your business. Is that gap sales, which is why Will's team listens to your call and they'll say, hey, bro, like you could have closed this deal. It's a sales problem. It's not a marketing problem because you're getting the leads, right? And then what is the one thing that you stress? Cost. So can you kind of talk about cost per lead. That's another very important metric.
Cost per lead is very, very dependent on where you're at and your location. So a good rule of thumb, if you're, so this is how I actually transition your marketing, right? From cold, what's the next step after cold, right? After cold calling a very cheap list, you probably want to go to niche data. I know Data Syndicate is one of the places. Tim knows a bunch of other ones. You actually gave me a company the other day. What was it called, Paul?
So the two ones that I use now are Data Syndicate. So that is you pay them a 3-month subscription at a time. It's county
Okay.
records. So they'll go
Yeah.
through your county, pull your code violations, lease pendants, divorces, and they'll skip trace for you. The
Mhm.
second one is a lot higher end, and you cannot do that if you're a beginner because it's thousands of dollars per month, but it's called Data Flick.
Data flip. So those are the two channels when you graduate from just a super like prop stream. You just put like what the gurus tell you, just fucking lay out tags until you have X amount of records. Sure, once you graduate from that, you're going to these niche poorhouse data lists. You're hitting them with multiple different types of marketing, right? You're cold calling them, you're direct mailing them, and you're knocking on their goddamn door, right? So once you graduate from that, typically I would tell everybody to go to PPL before ever hiring an agency.
Yep.
The reason why is because there's no upfront setup cost. There is a what's it called? They have the data already in the back end, so there's no ramp up period for like your Facebook algorithm or your Google algorithm to learn. So they can basically get you the faster result and they can get you the faster result with actually very cheap because you can do a lower bid and just not get too many leads. You don't have to do a top of the range bid, right, Tim? Because I've never done too many PPL stuff on my
Yeah.
end.
So there's strategies to that too, right?
Exactly.
Here's the thing with PPL. So it's a bidding system and you load money in with a credit card. So for instance, like what's your monthly budget for PPL? So we'll load that money in a credit card and it'll just be a full bar. And as leads come through the funnel, it starts getting used up. You can see who the top bid is. So see, they don't tell you who it is, but it says who has it and what the number is. So it'll be like 500, right? If you set it to 300, right, because that's your budget, eventually all the other competitors will eventually run out of money, right? And because the top bid is 500, let's say Will has a $500 bid, and okay, the lead comes out, their top bid hits their account, and it says, oh, they don't have money. So then it goes down to the next person, and it goes down to the next person, right? So you can set your bid. Hey, I want 200. Like we get 2 leads at the end of the month, always. It's like clockwork. We set it for 250 a month for fun, and we'll always get those 2 leads at the end of the month because everyone else has run out of money.
Mhm.
So what we do is we'll start the month off hard, like we'll compete with the big dogs for a little bit, and then we'll turn it off midway because in the beginning of the month you get like an inflow of leads, and then turn it off, and then towards the end of the month we lower it to like 250, 300, and we'll get like the stragglers when everybody goes broke.
Dude. And that's kind of like the thing is like when you're starting to get into the inbound side of things, PPL is a great way to get your feet wet and start understanding, oh, what's the conversation is going to be like? How do I navigate through inbound direct to seller calls so you can optimize your system? Go with the lower end of the bid and start just getting leads and getting the experience, getting the traffic, right? But then realistically, the reason why a person using a PPL company will go towards the agency side and hire an agency like mine is when they're looking to scale their business. I know my KPIs. I know 1 out of 12 lead converts into a contract. I know the best areas for me to operate in. I know my system and process so well, but now I can't get enough leads because I'm bidding against all these other people, right? So you're capped almost on a on a monthly basis because there's other people that there's only X amount of data that can be provided, and you guys are all fighting for it. So it's either you go up to a high range of bid for the whole month, or you have to fall to agency. With the agency, now you're paying a setup fee typically and monthly retainer or profit share model, paper deal, paper X, Y, and Z. And we can dive into like all this kind of payment structures people have and what I like and what I don't like. But at that point, you're working with the agency to build out something internal where if we can get the same cost per lead as a PPL lead, like maybe in the fall between the, if Louisville, Kentucky is at the $500 range to 200, if we can fluctuate the lead between, the 150 to 250 range and meet the bottom bid of PPL and be able to scale that ad internally, you're not dependent on like another platform where you're like, oh, am I getting leads tomorrow? I can't really scale my business past a certain, you know, number per month. So that's typically when you'll graduate to agency.
Yeah,
And
doesn't Hermosi say in his videos like, paid advertisement correctly gives you consistency, and how much money you're going to expect to make based off your sales metrics.
yep, you always want to take things internally no matter what. So you want to bring in like a kind of like a partner or not. That's kind of going back to the model. You want to hire somebody that's willing to grow with you as well. There's two ways that agencies would charge is typically a setup fee plus monthly retainer or a really high setup fee and no retainer but profit share. You need to know what type of business you are and the results they're able to generate. Typically, an agency will want you to pay more on the setup. So this way it covers the front end cost of acquisition. And they don't care if they eat on the back end or not. Because if you bleed out, you already paid them for the lifetime value,
Right.
which is the client's, overall how much they'll spend with you through a lifetime. That's what LTV means. So I prefer to work with better acquisitions team and get them on monthly. So I'm not bottlenecking their monthly what their budgets are. I don't want them to cough out 8 to 10 grand off the bat and potentially make their money back later. I'd rather for them just to pay me monthly going in on a rolling scale of, hey, if you're spending more money on marketing and I have to manage more money, I will get paid more based upon a small percentage of that incremental base and change. I feel like that's way more fair than charging, 8, 10, 20 grand as a setup,
Yeah.
but I haven't done anything for you yet.
Yeah. Now we're in the hole. Yeah, I
You're in
love
the
that.
hole.
I love that business model because, and the thing is, like, if you give people results, right? Here's the ultimate thing: is everybody wants to get paid up front, and it's like if you take a chance with me and we make money together, now I'm gonna be like, yo, Will's the guy.
Right.
He's my marketing guy. Like, why would I go anywhere else if someone's printing me cash, right? Like I think that's like the mindset thing is everybody wants to get paid up, but it's like nobody wants to prove themselves first. Um, and it's so important, man. Like it's so important.
And dude, Tim, our campaign blew up. It was fucking garbage. So
Just
sometimes, like let's be completely honest with the viewers too,
yeah,
right? So in the end of the day, what Tim said in the beginning, I don't know if anybody caught it, is that you are gonna have to test on multiple channels for your area. Louisville is a weirdly shaped town that has like a bunch of rural areas and like 4 cities around it, and that's like just scattered and splattered.
yeah.
Facebook is not good for that because you're going to get everybody that frequently lives there and travels within that area.
Hmm.
So with Tim's campaign, even though we were using very specific languaging such as like Louisville homeowners, we're still getting people from like the bumble f nowhere in the rural areas of town. So it doesn't make sense for him. So that's why he transitioned to direct mail where he can control the targeting,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. Yeah, that's actually a really good point. Yeah. So my PPC campaign did not go well. Obviously from what he just said. And when we the thing about marketing, right, is you need to be able to pivot. And we can pivot because we track our data. And I think for the listeners out there, if there's anything to take away from this conversation, is you need to track your data, right? On a spreadsheet, how much money you're spending, how many people have you been talking to per marketing channel, which eventually, like when you first start, you can do it on a Google Sheet. And eventually, when you grow bigger, you need a CRM. Ultimately, I hate spending money on stuff like that, but to be a business, you need to track it. But obviously, PPC wasn't working, so we shifted our money to direct mail, where we only target. So this is another data thing. We look at the most active off market zip codes. Where are the investors buying the most properties every single year in my market? Okay. So, okay, we'll use a zip code 40206, right? We see that it had 85 transactions this month. Where the heck do you think I'm going to send mail?
Dude,
40206.
follow the data, man. Don't go against it.
Yeah,
Don't be smart and cute.
exactly. And guess what? If there's 84 investors that bought houses and you get a deal under contract, do you think you'll find a buyer? There's a reason why people are buying there, right? Buyers are there. So, in my whole challenge, right? Like you've been following me on Instagram. I'm about to post a YouTube video about it, but I'm starting a business from scratch with zero money. And the first thing I did was not lead generation for sellers. I did not call sellers first. I talked to buyers first. They gave me their zip codes because I don't know the market. But if 10 investors tell me the same three zip codes, I think those zip codes are probably good markets. And then I can niche down in those zip codes. And then when I get a deal, I have already 10 pre-qualified buyers that look for those zip codes.
Dude, you're
Two
giving people
birds with one stone.
sauce. You have to, man. And that's the thing. That goes back into like the don't listen to everything you hear on the internet about my channel's the best. They're trying to sell you something, dude. That's why you want to make sure that the person you're talking to really understand your business and understand the game well enough where, dude, this might not work, man. And that's why charging a high setup fee is kind of unethical, in my opinion, because the fact that you don't know, like, for example, Tim, like for your demographic, I even told you, I was like, you have a very small audience from day one. I really don't know if this is gonna
Yeah.
work out or not. And it didn't, right? But we still gave it a shot because honestly, like we have the same last name, so you have to
Yeah, man. I was like,
give it.
I got to spend the dough.
Yeah, man. But I do appreciate it. But at the end of the day, it was tough. But at the same time, if you get sold into believing that one channel is the best channel, you're not being flexible. Like Tim said, you're not being flexible with your marketing. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work, right? If you already know how to convert cold traffic, you're consistent with your system and process, you know you have the whole system in place. If one lead channel doesn't work on inbound, switch to the next, go to direct mail, but give it enough time for, you know, get your first, 10 to 12 leads. And if it's not working, it's not working. Don't force it. But that's why I wouldn't pay a high setup fee because of the fact that you don't know if it's going to work or not. And they don't care if it's going to work or not.
Yeah, they
Right.
got their money, man. They already got their cash.
Right.
Dude, man, we are, that was a lot, man. There's a lot to unpack there. Usually I like to keep these 30 minutes, but man, we were just going on tangents on marketing. So it's awesome. Um, this is the kind of the point where we're going to shift gears to kind of spotlight you a little bit. So what do you need in your business? What's next for you? And ultimately, where can people find you, bro?
Dude, right now, where I am in my business, I'm taking on more wholesale clients for obviously motivated seller lead generation. That's my main business, the bread and butter. Is the It's the fastest setup time. We can get things launched within 24 hours, and you will see leads within the first 24 hours. So that's my main business. But right now, my main goal is to actually launch a product where I'm helping more higher level investors, guys in the real estate space, brand themselves using social media versus just organic branding, right? In the beginning, I don't know if I said it prior to the recording. It's like you don't want to just wait on, Zuckerberg to bless your content with views. There are ways to purposely craft your offer and target the right audience with a retargeting campaign, Tim, right? So for example, you're gonna kind of lead into the course realm and educate people on how to get their first deal, the zero to hero kind of idea, right? You're gonna launch a free course. How do you set up a tracking pixel to be able to target these people with your content consistently on a frequent basis for them to see your face over and over again on all the channels of social, right? And typically these things are way cheaper than direct response traffic. And the bigger you get as a company and the more marketing budget you have to play with, retargeting campaigns, awareness campaigns are actually way more beneficial for you is the billboard effect, right? Creating the omni-channel presence. And I'm actually going to be doing a study within the next couple of weeks of using this same tactic for my own business. I'm going to be retargeting a lot of people, and you might see my face a lot prior to going to the Owners Club event on the 30th. And that's the goal. I want everybody to see my face. So prior to me walking to the next networking event, I want people to already be familiar with my face, where they come up to me and start a conversation.
Bro, bro, guys. Oh my gosh, he's talking high level stuff here. Okay, how many times? I know I was trying to wrap this up, but how many times, on average, what's the statistic of how many times someone needs to see your face or talk to you before they buy something off you?
It's minimum of 7.
7 touches, right? I will tell a quick story. I moved to Maryland, and I went to the sub 2 meetup in DC. Don't know anybody. A random guy comes up to me and says, "Are you Tim Yu?" And I'm like, "Yes." He goes, "Bro, I see you everywhere on social media. I don't even know who you are, but I need to. I'm so happy I met you." What? So that's so true, bro. When you get the Owners Club retreat in Boston, bro, everyone's gonna be like, "Aren't you the PPC guy?"
Dude,
I am.
I don't even need them to know what I'm trying to sell or what
They
I
just see
do.
you.
I just want them to be familiar with my face so they're more comfortable with approaching.
Crazy, bro.
If I can just do that, I won, right? Because in
Yeah,
the end
they'll
of the
believe
day,
whatever you say.
exactly. What's the 3 main things that, so this is one of the things I want to give to your audience before, we potentially end the call is there's 3 things in marketing that really drives a person down the funnel organically, right? Typically is obviously, do you know them? Do you like them? Do you trust them? Right? And typically with these kind of content, we want to focus on just 3 things. It's like any objections is typically the you. Who are you, Tim? What do you do? Why are you here? Why am I looking at your face? Number 2 is the thing that you are talking about. Is your vehicle of service or the product that you're offering actually beneficial to me? And why does it work? Right. And the last thing is me, my common objections. Like that I have to
Um,
think about it. Let me talk to my wife. I'm not ready. I don't have the money right now for it. Can you handle these objections prior to them ever meeting you? We're getting onto that appointment, we're sales call, we're just having a conversation. And that's what we're really trying to do with these content. And it needs to be strategic, right?
yes,
Towards a specific audience.
I agree, bro. Damn, bro. No, I appreciate you sharing that last tidbit, man, because that is so freaking important and nobody really thinks about that. But dude, if someone wants to reach out to you and pick your brand about marketing, where should they reach out to you? What's your website? Please share for the crowd, man.
So for anyone that want to directly work with me, you can directly book a call from REI Transfer. Uh, if you can just add the link, that would be great.
Yep.
But for people that, just want to follow my journey, I am very much the paid ads guy, and I need to get more onto just organic side of this as well. So I'm building out my tiny little Instagram account where I'm gonna be also putting some content on YouTube. But follow me, WILL.YUS. That's my Instagram. Or just add me on Facebook. I accept every friend request. Just
Cool.
message me directly.
Amazing, dude. Yo, I appreciate you coming on, man. I appreciate you sharing the sauce. And y'all see you soon, bro.
Dude, 30.